Hey friends! Today I'm going to share with you a tutorial showing you how to use the Tombow dual tip brush pens for hand lettering. We are going to start with the basics and end up showing you some amazing techniques and tricks that you can do using these Tombow brush pens. So I hope you enjoy this video and I hope that it is helpful for you. The first thing that I want to talk about is the paper. This is something that can easily be overlooked, but I think it is so important. These brush pens do tend to fray pretty quickly, and if you are using paper that has any sort of texture or roughness, you will want to make sure that you switch to a high quality smooth paper so that you don't get frayed pens so easily. So once your pens fray, you're going to have a really hard time getting thin upstrokes, and that's definitely not something we want in hand lettering. So you don't have to use the same paper that I do, just make sure that it's really smooth. You can use a marker paper that's made specifically for markers. What I personally use is the HP Premium Choice LaserJet paper. I've been using this for a really long time and it's really smooth and the quality is really great. It is like a printer paper, so it's pretty inexpensive. I usually buy it on Amazon for about $10 for a 500 pack, so I will leave the link in the description box below if you are interested. The next thing that I want to talk about is how you hold your pen. I hold mine at a slight angle and I keep it this way during my lettering. The thick and thin strokes don't come from holding the pen at different angles. They become thick or thin depending on how hard you're pushing down on your pen. So when I'm drawing a downstroke, I'm going to push a lot harder to get that thick line. And then when I go back up for my upstroke, I'm going to lighten up on the pressure, and that's how I can achieve that thinner line. You can practice this by doing basic drills, and if you want to learn more about doing drills, I can leave a link below for a video where I talk more about that. And as you can see, these pens do withstand a lot of pressure, and I'm always asked if my pens break because of how hard I push, and the answer is no. They're really sturdy and they always bounce back, which is why I think so many people love these pens for brush lettering. I'm just going to show you my basic alphabet using the dual tip brush pens. These pens can create a really nice ombre effect, and depending on which different colors you use, they can be really vibrant as well. The tips of these ones are soft and pretty flexible, but they're also pretty large. So if you are a beginner, please remember that it might take a lot of practice for you to feel comfortable using these. That is totally normal for beginners. Because of how flexible the brush tip is, it can be a little bit more difficult to control. So don't feel bad if your lettering doesn't look perfect on the first try. It just takes practice. Once you feel comfortable with drills, one of my favorite ways to practice is just doing the alphabet over and over. This helps me to be able to create consistent sizes, and I can also discover new ways to write difficult letters that I'm not really liking very much. So I think this is just a fun way to help you find your own personal lettering style. I've been using Tombow brush pens for a while, but this was a new pack and I noticed that they felt a little bit more firm and they got a little bit more flexible the more I used them. So I just wanted to show you a comparison between the two different colors, and as you can see, the brighter colors can be so vibrant. And you can also tell that the bottom color is getting a little bit thicker of downstrokes than the top color. The next things that I want to show you are some of the fun parts about having the Tombow dual tip brush pens, and that's that you can create so many different effects all with one pen. So the first thing that I want to show you is how to create a watercolor background. You will need some sort of flexible plastic like a clear plastic bag or plastic wrap, and then I'm also using the Pentel Aquash water brush, and I'm using Canson watercolor paper. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take my plastic and color it in using my Tombow brush pens. You can do multiple colors as well, don't be afraid to get creative. Also make sure to keep the area smaller than your paper so you don't stamp the color onto dry parts of your paper. Once you do this, drop a few drops of water onto the paper, and then we're going to take our plastic bag and gently place it over the water droplets with the coloring down to face the paper. And then you're just going to rub it in until it looks coated and nice, and then just really carefully take the plastic up and wait for it to dry. You can see with mine I have quite a bit of excess water. You don't have to add as many drops as I did. It's just kind of an experiment every time you do it. So once it's completely dry, you can letter over the top of it using ink or a waterproof pen. Just make sure to let it dry completely. The next thing that I'm going to show you is how to blend using the colorless blender pen. I have a whole video tutorial on this. If you would like more details about the process, I can link that in the description box below. But essentially what we're going to do is write our letter using the lighter color, and then we're going to draw in the contrasting color that's the darker color on the top. You can then use the colorless blending pen to pull down the darker color into the rest of the letter, which gives it this fun blended effect. Just make sure that you're pulling the color down and not going back and forth with your pen, or your paper may start to tear a little bit. In this technique, I am going to use the water brush to gently add a small amount of water to the middle of my letters that I did using the Tombow brush pen. This creates a look that is amazingly similar to watercolor lettering, but you are doing it all with a brush pen and just a little bit of water in your watercolor brush. And it's also super easy, so that is a huge bonus. And I think that the outcome of this looks so cool, and it's one of my favorite ways to use these pens. The next thing I'm going to do is get my plastic bag back out for some more blending techniques. You can also use something ceramic or hard plastic if you don't have this on hand. I'm first going to apply my darker color to the plastic and then use a lighter marker to pick up the coloring, and this is going to create another different type of blended look on my letters. There are so many color combinations you can try using this technique. Just make sure that you're always drawing with the lighter colored pen, because if you add a light color to a dark pen, the dark will most likely overpower it and make it so you can't really see the lighter color at all. Another way that you can do this is by adding multiple colors to the plastic and then picking both of those colors up with the colorless blender pen. Sometimes this just creates a whole new color, or it might give it a blended look. Either way, it is very pretty and a fun way to experiment using these pens. And don't worry about all of this color mixing, because these pens are self-cleaning, so you just need to rub them back and forth on a piece of paper to remove the color. The blender pen can get a little bit stained over time, but it is still totally usable. The next blending technique that I'm going to show you is one of my favorites because it's so unique. You are just going to take two pens, a lighter and a darker color, and put the tips touching point to point. I am going to put the lighter color on the bottom and then hold the dark one over it just to let gravity help a little bit. You can then see the darker color that's going to transfer to the lighter colored marker, and this makes it so that we can create that blended look without having to dip our pen in ink or without having to use the colorless blender pen. Now I'm just cleaning off my pen so that it's ready to be used for next time. The last thing that I'm going to show you is how to create watercolor doodles. I am obviously not an artist, but here I am just shading some simple flowers. And once I'm done, I'm going to add some water just to blend the color together a little bit. This creates less of a streaky marker look and more of a solid color. You can also use multiple different marker colors to blend them all together for some really, really beautiful art using these markers and some water. So I hope that was helpful for you and that you found some fun new ways to use your Tombow dual tip brush pens and that you have so much fun using them for hand lettering. If you want to see more videos that teach you how to hand letter, be sure to subscribe here on YouTube, and if you are over on Instagram, you can also follow along there. I am just at How to Hand Letter. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it so much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!